Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Game Week 11 deadline live stream. My name is FPL Nacho, of course, and I don't know why I just done that then. And I'm here to answer all of your questions for the next hour. Apologies for the awful intro into this live stream. I was rushing to get onto it, but we are here now. As always, if you're looking forward to this stream, please do drop a like. And if you're not a subscriber already, please do consider dropping a subscribe. Is that what they call it? Please smash the subscribe button. I see we have some usual suspects already in the chat, but make sure you do drop your questions in the comments section. Basically, this is just going to be an hour Q&A. I'm going to show you guys my Game Week 11 team. I did reveal it in last night's video, but I will refresh you exactly what I'm doing for this weekend. And we're also going to look at maybe a bit of future planning, Game Week 12, Game Week 13 and beyond. But realistically, it's a deadline live. I think you've probably consumed all of your content between Monday and Friday. So this is the opportunity for any last minute questions. If you want any deep dive analysis into certain hot topics, I would recommend checking out my Game Week 11 preview video. But as I mentioned, being a Saturday morning, I think realistically, this is all about just answering any of those last minute questions. So please do fire them away in the chat and I will make sure I answer them between now and 10 a.m. I will be then doing a TikTok live from 10 till 11. So if you're interested in that, then please do check that out. So let's get straight into the chat right now. Immortal Technique, hope you're doing very well. Purple Snake, hope you're doing well. Should I start to put any questions I have in the chat? Yes, you should. And I see you already put one in. Out of Cash Your Doggy, Gabriel, Lamptey and Anderson, which three should I start, or should I try to start more? Realistically, I think Matty Cash is an auto pick for you in that team. Gabriel is a very tricky one. I expect Lamptey to start, mainly due to Estupiñán being ruled out for Game Week 11, so I think naturally Lamptey will come into that team. And Crystal Palace have quite a favourable game. So I think the choice here would be Cash, Lamptey and Anderson. And your first sub should be your doggy. I think Gabriel is the worst of the five. And I expect your doggy to either start or get 0 minutes. He's 50-50 whether he plays on the weekend or on Monday. So I don't see a situation where he comes off the bench for them. So that is the order that I would choose. Ashnell, hope you're doing well. Madrid fan, hello mate, hope you're doing well. Lad, doing very well mate, hope you are too. Best, what to do with Neto? Okay, so Neto has definitely been ruled out for the next few weeks due to a hamstring injury. So if you currently own Neto, I think selling him is the right choice. In terms of replacements, again, I have done a bit of a deep dive in previous videos regarding the best Neto replacements. So I think if you want to stick on Wolves, I think Hwang is a good move. My only worry about Hwang is that basically we don't know whether Neto's creativity being taken out of that team is going to impact them in the final third. My assumption is Wolves are going to be no better without Neto, and I think Hwang could actually have a little bit of a negative impact on his underlying numbers, but he's still good and the fixtures are okay for Wolves, it is worth noting. Otherwise, I don't like the fixtures at all, but Cole Palmer is a good entry point at 5 million. The fixtures are awful for them. Just to read out Cole Palmer's next few fixtures: Spurs away, Man City, Newcastle, Brighton, Man United. Then they get amazing for Chelsea. So you're not buying Cole Palmer because of the fixtures. You're only really getting him in because he's on penalties. I think his game time's going to be pretty good. He has been very good. One of the best performers in the Chelsea team over the last few weeks. And at 5 million, it's a really good opportunity for you to save some cash and invest it elsewhere. So I like Cole Palmer, but I get it. It isn't the best entry point right now with the fixtures. Otherwise, at a similar price, you could go for a Gordon, but again, at Arsenal, tricky game. So I probably would still go for Cole Palmer, but I get it. It doesn't fill me with joy looking at the fixtures that he has coming up. One thing I would say to you as well is, do you want Eddie Nketiah come Game Week 12? The reason why I say that is maybe you would downgrade Neto to a 4.3 million midfielder to free up the funds for you to then upgrade your third forward to Nketiah in Game Week 12. So I think it is really worth noting whether you actually want Nketiah later down the line, because Neto to a 5 million, then you are blocked out of getting Nketiah, or maybe Neto down to a 4.3 to free up the funds for you to buy Nketiah in Game Week 12 should be a consideration for your team, definitely. Jay, my team is in a very good position. Who is the best 4 million defender? So I think at 4 million, Charlie Taylor needs to be a consideration for Burnley. Now, the reason why I say that is because there are a few times where I think you might need to call upon Charlie Taylor in your squad. Game Week 13 is awful for a lot of big teams. So you may require Charlie Taylor to come into your team, and he has a good fixture at home against West Ham. Not the best, but equally not the worst fixture. It's also worth noting, game week 18 is going to be a blank game week, and we don't really know how we're going to navigate that period. Charlie Taylor away against Fulham isn't the worst fixture in the world, so I don't mind Charlie Taylor as a bit of an enabler, and he's only 3.9 million. Now, Lascelles at Newcastle is a good investment as well. It looks like Botman is going to be ruled out for a little bit longer. My only worry about Lascelles is I think he definitely loses his place as soon as Botman returns. And looking at that game week 18 later down the line, you might need this cheap defender, and I can't guarantee you whether Lascelles is actually going to be in that Newcastle team for that period. Another one that I think you need to consider in the 4 million bracket is going to be Braithwaite. Now, I'm just getting up his fixtures right now because Braithwaite is 4 million. Played pretty much every game for Everton. He is an ever-present in that team, and he has been fantastic for them. Really, really talented player. We need to look out for him in the national team. So, in terms of the fixtures for Everton, Brighton, Palace, United, Forest, Newcastle, Chelsea, Burnley, Spurs away in that blank game week 18. So, I think Braithwaite is another consideration for your team. So, if I had to rank them right now, I'd probably go Charlie Taylor 1, probably Braithwaite 2, and Lascelles 3. That's probably the ranking I would have for them right now. I wouldn't go Lamperty because I think Estupiñán will be back in game week 12, and then you basically only getting 1 game week's worth of time from Lamperty. Ashil, good morning. Your hope you're doing well, mate. Mikey, do I do a -4 for Chan? I'm guessing that's Huang, is it? Who are you selling, Mikey? That's the big question there. Mr. Cat, I have Burn and Taylor. Should I just play Taylor or sell Burn for a Crystal Palace defender? No, I wouldn't really realistically be selling Burn. I would just start Taylor in that situation if you're not sure about a Newcastle clean sheet. Daniel, start 3 of Lamperty, Romero, Reguilon, Cash or Trippier. So I've said this before. If you own Trippier, you can't bench him, no matter what the fixture is, especially at St. James's Park. You do not bench Trippier. So Trippier is absolutely in for the team. No questions there. I expect Lamperty to play with the absence of Estupiñán. So I would probably go for Cash, Trippier, and Lamperty. That is the 3 that I would go for personally. Romero is fantastic on the bonus points, and they definitely could keep a clean sheet. But looking at the fixtures, I would go for Trippier, Cash, and Lamperty. Football Moments, what do you do? Would I do your doggy to Shimikas? I probably would, yes. I probably would be tempted. It's going to free up a little bit of funds in your team. You've got a great away fixture against Luton, and we have no certainty whether your doggy is actually going to be available. Also, if you have a really weak bench, your doggy plays for you and he doesn't actually start for Spurs, your bench looking terrible, I feel like you might regret not making that Shimikas move. So yes, I do like the Shimikas move for your team. Haaland to get the hat-trick. Yes, I do think Haaland has a great opportunity this week. I will put up my team now just to show you what I am looking like going into this weekend. So here is how the team is looking for game week 11, and I've been pretty locked in since game week 11 arrived on Sunday. I was always planning on rolling my free transfer. I wildcarded in game week 10. Whenever you wildcard, you always want to try and roll your free transfer the following game week, as obviously your squad has been built for the long term. And unless any injuries arise, I do always recommend trying to roll your free transfer. Now, I get it. Gabriel could be a bit of a rotation risk for Arsenal, but what is the point in selling him when we don't actually have any concrete evidence? Newcastle away is one of the toughest fixtures Arsenal can have this season. If Gabriel is benched for that fixture, then we know that Arteta has lost faith in Gabriel. That is just absolutely locked in. But what I want to see is if he starts against Newcastle, I'm obviously going to keep Gabriel for that home fixture against Burnley. So I'm absolutely fine with the situation with Gabriel right now. And looking at my team, rolling the transfer just makes complete sense. The reason being is obviously I have 2 free transfers for game week 12, more flexibility for my team. And the big thing is, if Gabriel Jesus gets ruled out for the longer term, I have much more flexibility in order to bring in Eddie Nketiah into this squad. It would require me to change this team structure, go to a 3-4-3, and that may require me downgrading one of my midfielders or one of my defenders. But the option is at least there for my team, and I would advise a lot of you guys considering that. If you don't have to make a move, I really do think that rolling it is going to give you way more flexibility if Eddie Nketiah becomes essential come game week 12. Then I can look to upgrade other areas. So I'm rolling my transfer. It's a bit of a boring game week. I get it in game week 12 in game week 11 because a lot of people have obviously wildcarded the week before, and naturally moves aren't as crazy as they once are. So I'm doing a pretty boring thing this week, and yeah, I'm pretty happy with the moves that I am making. I'm not too desperate to make anything else. Let's get back into the questions, guys. And one thing I want to discuss as well, and you need to let me know in a poll that I'm going to put up right now, is who is your captaincy? So I have not looked at anyone else other than Erling Haaland. Anytime Man City are at home against a team like Bournemouth, who defensively are really not there, I'm always going to back him in that situation. On penalties, midweek rest for Man City and Erling Haaland. Liverpool, on the other hand, played against Bournemouth in the Carabao Cup. So Bournemouth, the team Man City are playing, also played midweek, which is always good for the team that you are captaining. And also it's worth noting, Mo Salah played the full 90 minutes in that Bournemouth game. I'm not sitting here saying that he is going to get benched at all in game week 11. Please do not read into that. But it's not a good thing that he played 90 minutes midweek. So that is the reason why I'm going for Erling Haaland in this fixture. I just think it is so hard to look against him. So what I want to do is quickly put a poll in the chat here. Who is your game week 11 El Capitano? So I want to see who you guys are going for. I'm going to put the options in as Mo Salah, Erling Haaland, of course. I think Son could be an interesting one for some people. Watkins. I'll tell you what, let me take out Watkins and I will put other. And if you could just let me know in the chat, who is your other if you are not going for the first three I mentioned. So vote in the poll that I've just put in there. Who is your game week 11 captain? I'll be really interested to know. And again, guys, if you are enjoying the stream, please do consider dropping a like. Only 9 likes on the stream. It'd be awesome if we can hit 20. That will be much appreciated. Right, let's get straight back into it with some more questions answered. Shah injured according to the app? No, I don't think Shah is injured. I think it's just a precautionary right now. I'll be very surprised if Shah is ruled out for this weekend. So I wouldn't really read too much into that, mate. I think Eddie Howe would have mentioned it in a press conference if it was the case. I think he has got a slight knock, but there's no expectation for him to be out this weekend. What about Adingra? Adingra is a really good consideration for a Neto replacement if you want to go there. Yes, I do think he is a consideration. The one thing about it is De Zerbi, with his rotation, we just don't really know how he is going to feature in this Brighton team longer term. We could see Ansu Fati play off the right-hand side. So whether you want to put yourself through that situation, but it is worth noting the Brighton fixtures are really, really good. And you do feel like you want a piece of that pie. Just to give you an idea, game week 11 away against Everton, Sheffield United in 12, Forest in 13, 14 Chelsea, then Brentford, then Burnley. Brilliant long-term fixtures. The one thing we do need to note, of course, is that Brighton do have Europa League involvement. So just to give you a bit of an idea on what they are going to go through, this weekend they're against Everton. Thursday they're away against Ajax in basically a make or break fixture for them in the Europa League. Then on the Sunday they have Sheffield United. So yes, they have their best Premier League fixture in game week 12, but it's off the back of that Ajax game, which isn't ideal. They then have Nottingham Forest away on the 25th, which I believe is obviously after the international break, so all the players are going to get a big rest, some of them. Then after that, on the Thursday, they play Athens away in the Europa League, so no rest for the wicked, followed by Chelsea away, then Brentford at home 3 days later. 3 days later after that, they have Burnley. 4 days after that, they have Marseille in the Europa League. So it isn't a pretty period for Brighton assets, and I get it. A lot of you, let me just try and get this up for you a minute. Here we go. You can see that on the thing. This is why I was never huge on Brighton, even though I think there are unbelievable assets in the team. This is my only worry right now. You can see this with Brighton. So just to give you an idea, as I mentioned, Ajax, 3 days later, Sheffield United. Then it's the international break, so don't worry about it. Then we have Forest, 5 days later, Athens. Then 3 or 4 days later, Chelsea. 3 days later, Brentford. 3 days later, Burnley. 5 days later, Marseille. 3 days later, Arsenal. 4 days later, Palace. A disgusting period for Brighton, and I get it. They are one of the teams that are one of the rare ones that put up around 2 XG per game. So you want a piece of that, but I just don't know who is going to play consistently over this period. And even if Adingra does play consistently over this period, are we getting the best of him, getting rinsed 90 minutes week in, week out, playing every 3 days? Not really. So let me know your thoughts on Brighton. I'm not as big into them right now, but I get it. I get why people want to invest in them. Let me just bring up my team a minute and we'll come on to a bit of future planning later. Ethan, who should start? Gabriel away against Arsenal or Porro against Chelsea? It's a no-brainer for me. The answer to that is Pedro Porro. He offers attacking potential. And also, would you be surprised if this blunt Chelsea attack doesn't score against a very good Spurs defence? Porro all day for me. Ashley saying, is having an Arsenal asset essential for the long term? I don't have any, even though I am an Arsenal fan. Painful when you're not buying the player that you support, but I get it. So just give you an idea on the fixtures coming up for them. Let me put this up on the screen. I'll use Eddie Nketiah as an example. So this is what Arsenal have right now. Newcastle away, Burnley, Brentford, Wolves, Luton, Villa, Brighton. Fantastic fixtures, it is worth noting. Now, what I'll do quickly is I'll get up the Arsenal fixtures, which actually also incorporate the Champions League, because we also need to remember what they are going through in that situation. Similar to the Brighton, we need to not rule out their involvement. So this is Arsenal's fixture schedule over this period. So obviously Newcastle this weekend, which you do not need any Arsenal investment. This is one of the toughest fixtures for them. So I don't think you need to worry about not owning Saka or Eddie Nketiah this weekend. Just write off game week 11. Then they obviously have their really important home fixture against Sevilla. Then 3 days later, they got Burnley at home. Then the international break. So I'd expect their big assets to play probably the next 3 games. It is worth noting. But Burnley at home is an opportunity for goals in that game. And I would be a little bit worried not to have any Arsenal investment in that game. Then we have the international break coming into Brentford away, followed by Lens away 4 days later. Then Wolves, Luton, Villa, PSV after the Aston Villa game, followed by Brighton. So the Villa PSV rotation is going to be quite a difficult period, but we can assess that later down the line. So no, I don't think Arsenal are absolutely essential, but I would be worried about that Burnley game because that is the money fixture, what we call it in FPL. And like we saw against Sheffield United, I wouldn't be surprised if Arsenal beat them 5-0 in that game. So just keep an eye on that one. That is the one that I'd be a little bit worried about not having any investment in. Otherwise, I think you are fine for this weekend 100%. So let me just get that back up on your screens there. And as always, guys, please do fire any questions that you have. I'll be doing this for the next 45 minutes, answering any questions that you have. Rachel saying, Hwang as a differential captain against Sheffield United in game week 11. Look, I absolutely love the bravery. For me, it just isn't an option. When you have assets like Mo Salah away against Luton and Haaland at home against Bournemouth, I just don't think it requires a time to go differential. I get it. Hwang against Sheffield United is one of the best around, but do you see Wolves scoring 4 or 5 goals against Sheffield United? I personally don't. I wouldn't be surprised right now, and let me try and check this out, whether Wolves are one of the lowest scoring teams alongside the other ones that we would expect. Let me just get this up a minute. In terms of teams, goals scored. So Wolves have scored 13 goals in 10 games. So it's not the worst, but always when you want to captain a player, you want to go for also a team that looks like they can actually score a lot of goals. And Wolves never really fill me with that confidence. I don't really expect them to beat Sheffield United 5 or 6-0. Whereas if I said to you right now, City beat Bournemouth 5-0, you wouldn't bat an eyelid. Similarly, Liverpool against Luton, if they beat them 5-0, you'd be like, oh yeah, I expected that. So you want a piece of that pie. And that's why I don't think you go against Haaland or Mo Salah this weekend. If it was a game where maybe Haaland was playing against Liverpool, vice versa, Arsenal had a really tricky game, maybe Hwang would be a good differential captain. That being said, like I said, you captain who you fancy. And if you've got that gut feeling that Hwang is going to go off against Sheffield United, I applaud the bravery and I would love to see how it does get on because obviously I'll be rooting for you in that situation. Keelan, who would you start from Kufal, Burn or Taylor? So a reminder, Kufal was away against Brentford, and I actually do fancy Brentford to get a result here. Alvarez and Paqueta are ruled out for game week 11 due to suspension, so that makes West Ham significantly weaker this weekend. Burn at home against Arsenal. I fancy Newcastle always at St James's Park, but for a clean sheet, it's going to be tough. Then Taylor at home. Realistically, Taylor has the best fixture, but can you confidently play him? Probably would go Taylor. Controversially. Braithwaite or Guy to buy? I would go for Guy. To start this weekend, I'd also probably go for Guy. Just checking the Everton fixture for confirmation. Against Brighton, I never back them for a clean sheet, so I would go for Guy. Is Trippier still worth it? He's always worth it, but I think the time is now to sell if you want to. I think people are wanting to free up funds, and he is the obvious cash cow in a lot of teams. So selling Trippier, I think, is a viable move. But look, there's no doubt he is the best defender in the game. So it is always a tough sell, but you need to know what you are going to be buying with the sale. And I think it is worthwhile doing it, especially when you want to free up funds for these premiums like Son, Salah, Watkins. Very tough to own them all with Trippier as well. Shart injury, I don't know too much about it, so I will monitor Twitter to see if anything does come up regarding it later on. Mikey, looking to sell Maddison plus already have Son. So Mikey, your original question was, do I do a -4 for Chan? I wouldn't be selling Maddison this week. I fancy them against Chelsea, and Maddison is a creative force in that team. So no, I would not be looking to make that move. Bench Saka or Bowen? Neither. Who are you starting ahead of those, Alan? You're going to need to let me know in the comments. Ben, should I get rid of Gabriel for Braithwaite or Guy? I don't really like the Gabriel sale unless you're desperate for a player to start this weekend with a decent fixture, because Gabriel might come back in for the game in game week 11 and then play in game week 12 at home against Burnley, which is a great fixture. If I had to sell for one of them, I probably would go for Mark Guy. The Palace fixtures long term are great, and also the return of Elise and Eze in around game week 12 is going to improve Palace as a team as a whole. So I think they're going to get better going forward. So I think Guy is probably the route I'll go for. But Braithwaite is a brilliant pick at 4 million. So you need to ask yourself, that 0.5 million that you'll be saving in buying Braithwaite, does that improve your team? If it does, I don't mind Braithwaite at all. So let's have a sip of the old coffee this morning. Let me know as well where you're tuning in from in the world. Obviously, I'm from the UK, but let me know where you are tuning in from. It'd be awesome to see if we have anybody tuning in from further afield. Ben Meekin saying, I have your doggy issues at the moment with one free transfer. Have Gabriel, Burn, Taylor and Cash. What would you do? So I think the situation right now with your doggy is 50-50 in terms of availability. It helps that it's a Monday game. If it was Saturday, he probably would be completely ruled out. And I do think your doggy is so important to this Tottenham team that if they can play him, they will. But I also don't see a situation where he is benched and he comes on. I think he either starts or he's completely ruled out. Now, in your situation, I think you're absolutely fine to start Cash and Taylor if you want to. If you wanted to sell your doggy, I think the obvious move for you is to do Shimikas. Bring him in, start him away against Luton alongside Taylor and Matty Cash, or a Burn if you fancy a Newcastle clean sheet. Then you have quite a strong defence, knowing that it's good for the long term as well. Start Flecken or Areola. I'm going to go for Flecken, to be honest with you. I think the absence of Alvarez and Paqueta in this West Ham team is going to be negative for them as a whole. And I think Flecken at home, I always back Brentford for good performances. So yes, I would go for Flecken of the two. Matthew, if Shimikas and Gabriel doesn't play, and I have Taylor as my second bench, do I get his points? So in this situation, take my team, for example. If you were to start Shimikas and Gabriel, you're saying, I have Taylor as my second bench, do I get his points? Yes. So what the game will do is it will take 2 defenders off your bench. However, you need to have defenders that actually do get minutes. So for example, take my team. If Cash and Guy would play 0 minutes, it would automatically take Taylor and Gabriel from my bench into my starting 11, as long as both Taylor and Gabriel have played minutes for their respective teams. To give you an idea as well, if you were to play the team on the screen that I have here, let's say you had a situation where you had a forward on the first bench, like Mabama, and Guy he didn't play, you'd then take the first defender on the bench. It wouldn't take your forward, it would take your first defender. So hopefully that does make sense there. Can we send you our team somewhere? So I usually try and answer teams on the stream here. You can try and send me one on Instagram, but I'm pretty woeful in replying. I do have a Patreon. You can check that out. Link is in the bio. That is the best opportunity to get your personal questions answered. So if you really do want that kind of thing, check it out. Link is in the bio. Start Taylor or Burn, Mr. Cat is saying. I would say in this situation, you know what? I'm going to be backing Newcastle for a clean sheet for some people. So I like Burn. Taylor, though, obviously does have the better fixture against what I'd argue quite a blunt Crystal Palace attack. So it's a really tricky one. The thing I would say is if Newcastle are... I'll tell you what, let me do this because I'm really on the fence with this one. Let's get a poll up. because you guys are obviously very helpful in this situation as well. Who would you start? Start one. Would you start Burn or Taylor? And a reminder, Taylor has Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace at home. Burn has Arsenal at home. Go cast your vote in the poll there, guys. Let me know who you would start. It's a very tricky one. I back the Newcastle defence way more than Burnley, but Taylor has the better fixture. Realistically, you probably would just go for Burn and you hope that Newcastle put in a fantastic performance at St James's Park. Realistically, that probably is the answer for that one. Right, I'm going to try and fire a few some of the questions, guys. Please do keep putting them in if you have not already. That would be fantastic. Okay. I'm going to triple captain Salah. Crack on. I think it is a good move. The reason why I'm not triple captain any player is I think we are going to get a double game week in 20 for Man City. And that just screams to me Erling Haaland double captain, triple captain in a double game week. Try to get my words out there. Triple captain Haaland game week 20 is what I've penciled in myself. But again, you can obviously play exactly what your gut is telling you. Salah away against Luton, one of the best fixtures you can get. Ricardo, is it actually worth saving triple captain Haaland for the potential double game week? Hopefully I've covered that off, Ricardo, on that one. I think there is a solid chance we get a double game week 20 with Man City having Sheffield United at home and Brentford at home. Now, the thing I would say is this. Obviously, we could see a situation where Haaland is rested for one of those two, so you only get a single game week. But I rather go for the upside potential of, obviously, Haaland having a double in that situation. Foden or Szoboszlai. So look, Szoboszlai is a fantastic option in terms of minutes. He's played 90 minutes every single game. He's looking really good. And he's actually being a bit more of a chance creator. His attempted assists are really, really good. So I like him and the fixtures are fantastic for Liverpool. But I would rather go for Foden for the upside in that Man City team. But also, I'm not huge on either, it is worth noting. Best Neto replacement, I have Diaby and Mitoma. Eze, no, because we haven't got confirmation he'll be playing for game week 11, so I'll hold off on that one. But at 6.1 million, Eze is going to be a brilliant option for our teams. In terms of Neto replacements, my answer to you would be, can you get to Mbeumo? If you can, I would be there. Because Mbeumo long-term looks great. And in terms of the poll, you guys are currently on 63% of you said you would start Dan Burn over Charlie Taylor in your FPL teams, and I'm probably leaning just towards that as well myself. Is it worth doing your doggy to Shimmercast for a -4? I don't love it for a -4. The question I would say to you is, do you have a good enough bench to replace your doggy if you start him and he doesn't come on? If you have a decent sub, then I probably wouldn't make that move. Otherwise, I'd pull the trigger, knowing that you're probably not going to benefit from it in just game week 11, but you probably will benefit from it longer term. That's probably the way I would look at it. Triple Captain Haaland, I cannot put anyone off going for Triple Captain Haaland. It's an amazing fixture at home against Bournemouth. We've seen it in years gone by. We all wait to use the Triple Captain in a double game week. We don't get any massive returns, and sometimes the single game weeks are the ones that are the obvious ones, like a Bournemouth at home. So please crack on with the Triple Captain on Haaland if you want to. As I said, the reason why I'm not doing it is because there is a strong expectation that we will get a double game week in 20 for Man City at home against Sheffield United and at home against Brentford. And that possibility is enough of a reason for me to not put the Triple Captain on Haaland. That's the reason why I'm not doing it myself. Purple Snake, I have 0.3 million in the bank and want Saka. I have Salah, Diaby, Maddison, Son and Ward Price. What's the best way to get Saka? So in your situation right now, I don't think you can do anybody other than Salah and Son to Saka, and that just isn't a consideration in my eyes for your team. So Ward Price to Saka would make sense, but you obviously don't have the funds available. So what I would say to you is this: don't make the move this week. Roll your free transfer going into game week 12. Give yourself the flexibility, and then maybe look at doing a double move if you have to, of downgrading a Ward Price to a cheaper option and then upgrading Maddison to your man. That's probably the route I recommend. I wouldn't be making any moves this week because Newcastle is not a great fixture to be owning someone like a Saka. JP's just asked the ultimate question here. Who to start out of Gabriel, Lascelles and Maguire? If you own Maguire, I can't believe I'm saying this, but you've got to start him away against Fulham. Yeah, I probably would. Let me know in the comments, guys, who you would start. It sounds mad, doesn't it, going for Maguire, considering how woeful Man United are, but I probably would just go for Maguire in that situation. Just making sure there's been no major updates online, so I do apologise, guys, if it looks like I am just drifting off, but I'm not. I'm just checking out to see if there's anything going on out here, but I can't see anything right now, so I think we're okay for now. Ricardo saying, just checking on Shah on Twitter. Apparently he's a little under the weather, so nothing major to worry about. Yes, that's the assumption I had. Who would sell to get Shimikas out of Porro and Trips? Okay, so both have the potential to go mega in any game week. My recommendation would probably be Trippier. Now, I'm not sitting here saying you should sell Trippier, but if I had to choose one of the two, it would be Trippier, because it's going to give you nearly 2.5 million in the bank to invest elsewhere in your team. And that is going to do so much for your squad. So I'm going to say Trippier, but I'm also going to tell you that of all the defenders in the game, he is the best one to own long term, because he's just got the potential for double-digit returns. So just know you're selling the best defender in the game, but I think it's worth it for the funds that it's going to create to invest elsewhere in your squad. So always have that caveat when you are selling someone like a Trippier. Adam, start Flecken or Areola. I would go for Flecken. I think the absence of Alvarez and also Paqueta is going to negatively impact this West Ham team. Alan, I have Darwin, Alvarez and Watkins up front. No Haaland. So I have to bench one. Alan, let me know who your midfield is, because you don't bench any of those three any week. If you own Darwin, Alvarez and Watkins, you don't bench any of them in any week. So let me know who your midfield is, because I'm very surprised you're benching any of them. Shocker, I'm 3.3 million in the world. Is there any way of coming back? Of course, there is a way of coming back from 3.3 million. Shocker, you just need to continue to make good decisions. You cannot control the outcome. I always tell this to people. Those that struggle with their mental health, with FPL, with anything to do with bad outcomes, you can't control the players that go out on the pitch. Keep making good decisions and take responsibility away from the outcomes, because we cannot control what happens on the pitch. So for you, mate, the easy advice is this: keep making good decisions long term and you will reap the rewards. 3.3 million. If you want a bit of help, you know where to come. Let me know and I'll try and help you out. But look, mate, just keep going, keep cracking, keep enjoying the game. Do not be stressed out about it at all. Gabriel Udogie out for Guy. Realistically, of the two, you're in a tricky spot. Udogie is the long-term pick in that Spurs team for minutes. Gabriel, we still have that question mark whether he is going to get rotated from time to time. I probably would sell Udogie and bring in Guy and hope that Gabriel does play in game week 12 for that Burnley fixture, which is the reason why you owned him, basically. Don't own Haaland, so Bowen and Archer out for Darwin and a midfielder on the bench for a -4. Do I like that move? I do. The one thing I would say to you is this: you're selling Bowen, who is a 90-minute man for a West Ham team who have great fixtures, for a Darwin Núñez, who is a minutes risk, but the bloke is literally up here in terms of an FPL ceiling. So I like the move. I don't like it for a -4, it is worth noting, but if there ever was a time for Darwin Núñez to repay that -4, it's going to be away against Luton. So I really hope it does pay off for you, mate. Sell Ward-Prowse or Almiron, and for who are the following? So I would sell Ward-Prowse. I don't think he is good FPL value right now. And of the four that you've mentioned, I would have Matoma number 1, Gordon 2, Eze 3, Ayew 4. The reason why Eze isn't up there is because I literally don't know when he's returning. Who has the highest upside out of Gabriel, Lascelles and Maguire? I think they all have very limited ceilings. At the end of the day, I probably would go for Maguire. Fulham are, I'm going to say, one of the lowest scoring teams in the league. Let's take a look. So Fulham have scored 9 goals in 10 games. I know Man United are woeful, but I probably would go for the Maguire option and just hope you get that bullet header from a corner, which gives you that huge double-digit haul. Is Mitchell definitely starting for Palace? I unfortunately don't know on that one, mate. I don't know what the latest is on Mitchell. I will try and check it out later on. Shocker, start Szoboszlai or Bowen. I think you're always going to back Bowen, but the problem is the money fixture is Luton away. So if you own a Liverpool player, you have to play him in the Luton game. So my answer is going to be Szoboszlai in this situation, even though I probably back Bowen's attacking potential more. Luton away, championship team. You've got to go for your Liverpool asset in that game 100%. Do you think Gabriel starts the upcoming games for Arsenal, or is it worth selling to Saliba? No, so I would not be selling to Saliba. My recommendation is this. Do nothing this game week. See whether Gabriel plays against Newcastle. The way I view it is this. Arsenal are in a title challenge. Newcastle away is probably one of their trickiest fixtures they can have this season. Arteta has to play his best defence because Newcastle are one of the highest scoring teams in the league. If Gabriel starts in that defence, we view Gabriel as one of his most important players in the team, and the benching in game week 10 was simply for a minute's kind of rest. If he doesn't play against Newcastle, there's issues because he has to play his best defence. If Gabriel doesn't play in that, Arteta doesn't view him as one of his better defenders. So my assumption is this. I think Gabriel literally did get rested because of minutes rotation. He'll be back in for the game week 11 fixture, and then we hope he plays in the easier game week 12 game. I would not be doing a sideways move to Saliba with an away game against Newcastle. Absolutely not. Gabriel or Guy? Probably will say Guy right now because the fixtures are as good, and we know he's definitely going to play 90 minutes. There's no risk of rotation there. Is it worth Son to Salah, Trippier to Baldock? Son to Salah, Trippier to Baldock to get Salah in. I have no Liverpool coverage. I can do Udogie to Shimikas. That fly. And or Alvarez to Darwin as an alternative. What do you think? Wow, wow, wow. Okay, this is a tricky one right now because I really can't sit here and confidently say to you that you should be selling Son. I just can't sit here and say to you sell Son. So I'm going to say no to that move. If you really want a piece of Liverpool, Alvarez to Darwin Núñez isn't the worst move in the world. What you could consider doing is Trippier to Shimikas and Alvarez to Darwin if you really want a piece of the Liverpool attack. I just don't love the move that you're recommending because it sells Son, and I think for pound, Son is one of the best value players in the game as long as he plays 90 minutes as a forward in that Spurs team. That's the way I'm viewing it right now, mate. So guys, please do consider dropping your questions in the chat. I'm going to be answering them as always. And please, if you haven't already, consider dropping a like. We have hit 24 likes. We always aim for 50 likes, but I get it. It is obviously a situation where 50 likes is a lot to ask for. But if you can consider dropping a like on the stream if you're enjoying it, it's always massively appreciated. So keep dropping them in. I'm going to go for another 20 minutes. There are some other fantastic obviously content creators going up until the deadline. I have a commitment though to do 10 till 11 on TikTok. So I will be over on TikTok live from 10 a.m. up until the deadline. But I'm going to be going for the next 20 minutes. Plenty of time for me to answer any questions that you do have. So let's get straight into it, guys. Start Udogie or burn. The way I view it is this. I feel like Udogie either starts or we get 0 minutes. I'll be very surprised if Pochettino benches him, even though he's a bit of an injury doubt, and then brings him on later on in the game. So I'd probably start Udogie knowing that you're either going to get him to start or Burn will auto sub in for him. So that's probably the route I'd view with the Udogie situation. Start Lamptey or take a -4 to take out Neto. I have Matoma and Diaby, but who is the best replacement then? So if you had Lamptey, I'd probably just start him in this fixture. With Estupiñán ruled out for game week 11, I'd expect Lamptey to come in. And then in game week 12, you can look to sell Neto, not part of a -4, instead as a sorry, I got the hiccups. As part of a free transfer. That's what I'd recommend. Vishal, I have Gabriel, Veltman, Shimikas, Cash, Lascelles, and this week I am playing Veltman, Shimikas, Cash this week. What should I do? I would go with what you said. I think you're absolutely fine there. I would start Cash, Shimikas, Veltman, and then if Veltman doesn't play, you've got Lascelles coming in as the backup. I think that's absolutely fine. No Haaland, brought Darwin, Matoma, and Walker. Salah and Capsy, hoping Alvarez scores City goals. Lewis, hope that pays off for you. Start Højlund or Adingra. Realistically, If you own Højlund, you've got to start him. You're paying big bucks for him. You've got to start Højlund. Ward-Prowse to Saka and Trippier to Anderson. If you can do that move, I like it, but I don't like it this week. Do I expect huge returns from Saka? Not really. So, yes, do the move if you want to, but I don't really think the entry point is this week. Is Højlund a good differential? I cannot recommend any Man United players right now with the form that they're playing. So, no. Is he a differential? Yes. Could be a good differential? Yes. But are you telling me you're going to pick him over Darwin Núñez, Alvarez, Watkins? The answer is no right now. Lascelles or Taylor to start. Look, I've had this discussion. It's really tricky, and the same applies to the poll that's going on right now. I think I always back the team that has the higher potential for a clean sheet, I always back the better defence. So that is going to be Newcastle in this situation. But obviously they're playing against Arsenal, so it's not ideal. Look, I expect both teams to concede. So I probably would just play Lascelles and hope Newcastle put in a monumental display at St. James's Park. And I'm going to end the poll there because it wasn't really adding much more value. But if you want me to throw a poll in, guys, to get the general consensus of anything, please do let me know. And what I also want to fire up is... now, I'll tell you what, let's leave my team up. If you had to transfer in one cheap Arsenal defender, who would it be, Gabriel or Zinchenko? Look, I'm not a big fan of either. Zinchenko is definitely a rotation risk with Tomiyasu. I probably would go for Gabriel, personally. Would Archer be likely to get more points than Ward-Prowse? Maybe, but I probably would back Ward-Prowse because Archer plays for Sheffield United, who are just championship quality, unfortunately. And it's not even like Archer's been starting every game for Sheffield United. So that's the worry that he might not even start this weekend. Cena saying Udogie to Anderson and play Anderson and bench Trippier. No, play Trippier. If you own Trippier, you either sell him this week or you start him. There's no world where you bench Trippier. That is simple as that. Adingra or Palmer to buy, I'm going to say Palmer. I've discussed the Brighton fixtures. They are great in the Premier League, but they also alongside that have the Europa League, whereas Chelsea literally have no involvement. They are just basically playing a Premier League game, waiting for the next one. Cole Palmer has been a fantastic addition to that Chelsea team. He's been man of the match multiple times. He's on penalties. I would go for Palmer, even though I think Adingra has the better fixtures. I just think the fixtures that they have in the Europa League are not ideal, and that's going to mean that rotation is going to have to happen for De Zerbi to keep the squad fresh week in, week out. Should I bench an Archer when I have Salah, Son, Maddison, Diaby and Hwang? Yes, I would bench. I would not start him over any of those players that you mentioned. Start Trippier or Pedro Porro. If you have Trippier, as I've said, I always think you have to start him in any fixture. Simple as that. He could get an assist from a clear corner, indirect free kick, direct free kick. If I said to you Newcastle kept a clean sheet at St. James's Park, you wouldn't be surprised at all. So Trippier for me, if you own him and you're paying that much money, you start him in every fixture regardless. Covered that one off. Dan, Udogie to Shimikas for a -4. Like I said, I don't love it this week because it's for a -4. But if you view it as a long-term move, then the entry point is now for Shimikas, obviously away against Luton. So I don't mind it as long as you view it longer term. Burn to Shimikas. Yes, I like the move. Also, Bowen or Saka to start. I would try and start both. I don't know who you're starting ahead of it, so I'll be very interested to know. Anderson or Guy. The only reason Anderson's ahead because he scored a worldy goal against Man United. I don't think either offer huge attacking potential, so I would favour Guy, who is the cheaper option in that situation. Covered that one off. I would start Trippier over Gordon, yes. Play Leno or Areola. I would go for... You know what? I'd be very tempted to go Leno, to be honest with you. Very tempted to go Leno. Wex is saying, who would you start between Maguire, Lascelles and Gabriel? I would start Maguire, I think, in that situation. Do I start Pedro instead of either Rodrigo, who is Rodri, or Gordon? Pedro Porro against Chelsea, yes, I would start him over those two, I think. Matoma or Ward-Prowse or Diaby, I would rank those right now as Matoma 1, Diaby 2, Ward-Prowse 3. I would start Trippier over Guy, yes. Joey, start Saliba, Colwell or Burn. Of the three, I probably would go for Saliba. Probably Saliba. Because I know he definitely starts that game. Really tricky, though. Should I start Alvarez after this game week or go to Darwin? Should I start... What I would say is reassess after the game week. We don't need to make any sort of decisions right now based on it. I think we let game week 11 happen, and then it might become obvious to you that Alvarez to Darwin for game week 12 is an obvious move. Logic saying Guy or Trippier to start, you always start Trippier is the way I view it. I wouldn't even be surprised if Crystal Palace conceded against Burnley. It is worth noting. I think if you have Trippier, you start him every day of the week. Dan Armstrong, covered that one, mate. Hopefully I've covered that one for you. Yeah, Dan, I've definitely covered that one for you, mate. Your doggy to Shimikas, I don't love it this week, it is worth noting. But if you're ever going to do it, it's this week because they play Luton away and the upside is there. -4, do I expect you to get the returns? Potentially. So, yes, I like it because it's the entry point this week, but I never like a -4 move, it is worth noting. Gabriel or Taylor start, I've covered that one off. I think it is really a case of, do you think Arsenal could put in a big performance there? It's a really tricky one to judge. I probably would go for Taylor in that situation because I just fancy Newcastle to score. Would you take a -4 to bring in Alvarez for Højlund? No, definitely not. I would not do a -4 for that. Romero for Shimikas? Don't mind it, but Romero's so good on the bonus. If they do keep a clean sheet, he's going to have a monster haul this weekend. Which goalkeeper to start, Flecken or Turner? I am going to back Flecken in that situation. I think Forest have a game against a free scorer in Aston Villa team. I would go for Flecken all day. And again, guys, we're at 38 likes for the stream. If 12 of you could drop a like on this stream, if you haven't already, it'd be massively appreciated as always. Start Colwell, Saliba or Burn. Again, guys, I think I said previously about the Arsenal one. I would go for the Newcastle defender of that three. So I would go for Burn. Best cheap midfielder under 5.5. I think Cole Palmer is still the man to go for. Jonathan, stick with 3-5-2 and keep Palmer, or switch to a 4-4-2 with Lascelles and Taylor Gabriel starting. And no Palmer, 3-4-3 with Archer, Haaland, Watkins. No, I'd go for Palmer over Archer every day of the week. On penalties, it's a massive factor. And I believe Archer's actually been in and out of the Sheffield United team, so there's no guarantee he starts. Could Maguire be a pick up at 4.2 and solid fixtures ahead? Yes, Thomas, I definitely do think he is an option at 4.2 million. Do I back the Man United defence though? Absolutely not. But for the next two, a Fulham team that struggled to score, followed by Luton. If you're ever going to buy Maguire, it is now. Morris, I bought Shimikas to Burn. Don't mind it. Don't mind it at all. I think Shimikas is a great option. P1G, is YouTube your job? No, not my job. No, I have a full-time job. Chad, Darwin worth a -4. Whenever he plays more than 50 minutes, he returns. And I do agree on that one. And if it ever was a time for Darwin Núñez to be the player of the week, the man who scores the most points, it's going to be Luton away, isn't it? It just feels like a Darwin game. But who are you selling? That's the big question. Logic, start Saka or Trippier? I would start both. Logic, my answer to you is, who are you starting ahead of those two? JWR and Mortal Tretnik, thank you for monitoring the chat. My midfield is Son, Saka, Salah, Diaby, Bowen, and have Watkins, Alvarez, and Darwin. It's between Saka and Bowen. Okay, so you have the front three. I get it. So you realistically want to start that front three regardless. I wouldn't be benching any of those. Look, in that situation, I would be benching Diaby. I would go for Son, Saka, Bowen, Salah, bench Diaby, because you've got the coverage in Watkins. Yeah, that's what I would go for personally. But it's really tough, mate. When you put yourself in that situation where you have so many fantastic attackers, you're going to have this headache week in, week out. And honestly, would you be surprised if any of those that you benched went big? No, like I can see all of those doing fantastic. So I don't think there's an easy answer to that one right now. Paqueta being ruled out for West Ham means that Bowen's probably on penalties for West Ham this weekend. So you have that argument. So can you bench Saka? Like, if you really want to, then crack on. But I'd be very, very fearful to bench Saka. Liv saying best goalkeeper to start. If I had to pick one for this game week in isolation, obviously Edison would be the pick, but obviously he's a lot of money, so he's not really ideal. Then it would be Alisson. Of the cheapies, it probably would be... Of the cheap ones, Jose Sarr against Sheffield United, probably. I would Trippier over Maddison or Bowen. Ugh. I would bench Bowen in that situation, I think. I fancy Spurs this weekend. Best Bruno replacement. Son, Salah, all definitely right up there as the top picks. Doesn't feel like the time to really be buying an Arsenal midfielder. I'd actually consider holding Bruno for this week rather than buying Saka if that is your consideration. Play Gordon or Guy. I would play... Ooh, that's tricky. Probably go for the upside of Gordon. Hello, start Gabriel or Taylor. I've had this discussion. I would go for Taylor over Gabriel personally. Start Burn or Udogie. The way I look at it is Udogie either starts for Spurs or he gets 0 minutes. So I'd start Udogie and then hope that if he starts, he starts. If he doesn't, you've got Burn to come in as a sub. Jonathan, no worries at all. Sheru saying Trippier over Maddison or Bowen. I've covered that one off. Jota or Foden for a 1 week punt. I'm always going to back Jota. I always back Jota in 1 week punt, so I would say Jota. Timmy, I'm considering captaining Alvarez versus Bournemouth. Captain Alvarez or Mo. I can't knock you going Alvarez because it's such a fantastic fixture at home against Bournemouth, but I personally would go for Mo with the two. Thomas is saying start Gabriel or Maguire. I'm going to say Maguire, controversially, but Fulham away, a low-scoring team. You have to favour the Man United man. Why is Salah underrated as captain? Joey, he definitely isn't underrated. I think he is right up there alongside Erling Haaland. It's just a case of Haaland being such a beast and a home game against Bournemouth. And it's also worth noting, Salah played 90 minutes midweek against Bournemouth. So Liverpool played midweek. Salah played 90. Haaland had a full rest and is playing against the team that played midweek. For me, it is just a recipe for goals in this Man City game. I don't see a world where Man City don't score a bag full of goals against Bournemouth. Sorry, I just got to reply to this second. Sorry, guys. It's an awful watching right now. I've got to send this message. Right, we're back. Nunes in for Saka or Maddison or Douglas Luiz. I don't really know how you're doing that move because obviously right now you'll be selling a midfielder for a forward. So you're obviously doing a two-part move there. Captain Darwin, look, if you want to go big and brave, don't mind it at all, really. Maddison over Son. Realistically, I would go for... No, I don't think Maddison covers Son, no. Sorry, I was just reading a message there. Guy or Brown? Who's Brown? Let me know who Brown is. Sorry. Am I being dumb? Let me get this up on here. Brown? Is Brown the Luton forward? Surely not. I always would go for... Let me know if you mean the Luton forward Brown, because you are the first person. You are one of the... Let me put this up. If it is, you are one of the 0.1% that owns Jacob Brown. Please let me know if you are that guy, because I have never and I do FPL every day. I have not heard anybody own Jacob Brown. Didn't even know he was a player. Please let me know. Oh, Bowen. Oh my God. I thought we had just found the one guy who owns Jacob Brown in FPL. Damn it, that is frustrating. So, not Jacob Bowen, not Jacob Brown. I'm just going to leave him on your screens because I bet you 99% of the chat right now didn't know Jacob Brown was a football player. Who who would I start? It's made it very more difficult now. Guy or Bowen. I'm always going to back the attacker in Bowen, yes. Saka and Maddison or Son and Bowen. That is a horrendous choice because I want Saka and I want Son. Joseph, realistically, of the two, Saka and Maddison or Son and Bowen, I'm going to go for the upside of Son because I really think he is the man to own right now. Does vice captain come into play if your captain doesn't start but gets benched on? So basically, when you do a captaincy and vice captaincy, your captain, even if he plays 1 minute, he will be your captain. The only way your vice captain becomes your captain is if your captain plays 0 minutes. So it is really important to have a little bit of a consideration about who you put your vice captaincy on, because I know a lot of FPL managers who simply just put the captaincy on the best player and then they leave it. It's really important because we do see sometimes your captain not play for some bizarre reason. And then when it comes to your vice captain, if you've just left it on your goalkeeper, for example, that can really impact your game week. Solanke to Edouard or Højlund. I never really liked Edouard as a pick, but like fixtures are great. Or Højlund. I don't like Højlund either, so I'd have to pick Edouard over Højlund personally. 2 free transfers. Should I do Burn to Guy considering the good Palace fixtures? Yes, I like the move. Yes. I'd also consider Shimmercast if you don't own already. Why aren't you captain Salah? He's literally playing the worst team in the league. Yes, it is just the reason what I said regarding Erling Haaland. I don't know why I'm on this one. The reason why I'm on Erling Haaland is because, as I said, he's playing against the team that played midweek. That is a real big thing. So he's playing against Bournemouth, who played midweek in the Carabao Cup. City have had a complete rest. Haaland's had a complete rest. And Salah played 90 minutes as well. So I'm just going to be backing Erling Haaland in this situation. Noah, you're a handsome guy, your girlfriend is lucky I'm not gay. Thank you very much. But it is worth noting, in the same breath, the last 12 hours, I was called Sean Longstaff and also Peter Crouch. So, you know, I'll take the handsome comment, but I also appreciate the Longstaff comments. And it only came to fruition recently that I do look like him. Also, if you don't realise, the reason why I'm called FPL Nacho is because I look like Nacho Monreal. Let me just show you why I call myself Nacho is because of this reason. Is that me? Let me know in the comments. For those that don't know. Who do I look like? Like, do I look like that? Is that me? Like, I've said this before. Like, this is why my thing is FPL Nacho. Like, do I look like that? The other one. This is awful, this one. This is what was thrown at Twitter. I can't believe this come up. But I mean, it's kind of true as well. Where's the best one? I mean, is that going to come up as well? That kind of looks like me as well. It's a little bit worrying. So I'm kind of a bit of a love child of Sean Longstaff, kind of a little bit of Nacho Monreal, and like we can't forget, because you need to remember I'm like 6'2". I'm also a bit of this. I'm also a bit of Crouchy, aren't I, really? Sorry if you were coming in for FPL news, but like, I mean, that's also me here, isn't it? That middle one. It's a little bit worrying, you know? I've come to a lot of realizations in this live stream, and one of those is that I'm a love child of Sean Longstaff, Crouch, and Nacho Monreal. Right, let's get back into this because I do need to wrap it up, so I need to jump onto TikTok. I do apologise, guys. Should I transfer out Watkins for Nunes? No, I wouldn't, but I do get it. The temptation is there because of that Luton away fixture. What formation is better? Timmy, a really tricky one to answer there because it's all about what players you have in that combo. So I'm not going to answer that one just because it's very difficult to answer. So I do apologise on that one. And more Treadly saying, my son thinks you sound like Duck from Thomas Tankager. I can't lie, I don't know who that is, so I'm going to check it out. But guys, as I said, I was going to do the live stream 9 till 10 because obviously I have commitments on TikTok 10 till 11. So I'm going to wrap up the live stream now. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a real good one. Been good numbers in terms of being able to answer all of the questions, which has been great. It hasn't been like a one where I haven't been able to answer them. So thank you so much for tuning in. Just a reminder, I am rolling my free transfer to give myself flexibility for game week 12. Thank you so much, guys. Have an amazing game week, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Cheers.